Be sure to shop our online selection at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Whether you're going on vacation or getting groceries, if you don't make a list, chances are you will forget something. The same is true in retirement. If you want to make sure you haven't overlooked anything, Mike Stevens at Capital Wealth Advisors can help. Mike has a checklist to help you find out if you are on the right track for retirement. Take the checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes on the list with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Capital Wealth Advisors can help you address any potential costly mistakes. For the free checklist, go to retireutah.com. That's retireutah.com. See if you've got it right. Take Mike Stevens at Capital Wealth Advisors Checklist Challenge today. Get it at retireutah.com. And for more on retirement planning, tune into Mike's radio show, Retire Utah Radio, Saturday mornings at 5. Firm offers insurance services. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Get your questions answered by the governor. Call 801-575-8255 to join Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Chaleos, of course, joined by Utah Governor Spencer Cox, and we're glad you're with us today. Let's go right to our phone lines, and James is on the line. Good afternoon, James. James, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Anyhow, hi there, Maria, and hi, Governor. I understand that you gave the go-ahead to tell people that it's okay for all adults to get their COVID boosters. And anyhow, I think that's a great step forward. And basically, I didn't know if I hadn't been listening to the program. Have you got your booster? And obviously, you recommend all adults get it. What are your thoughts on that as far as people recepting it?
James, thanks for your call today. Governor, we all know that COVID has taken kind of a toll on our mental health. It's been exhausting. And we got news yesterday that nationwide overdose deaths have been on the increase during the pandemic. What are we seeing in the state of Utah?
for alternative ways to cope with struggles that they may be having, and that's obviously the worst possible way to deal with our issues and stresses. And so we really encourage people to reach out to get help. We have so many resources available, and we want to make sure that no one ever loses their life by because of taking drugs or overdosing. So we're optimistic, but we need everybody's help to pitch in on this one.
Now, the community was shocked to hear about the suicide of the little 10-year-old girl, Izzy Tishner, in Davis County. I understand that you have talked to the Davis School District Superintendent about this issue and possibility of racial discrimination. And can you tell us about that conversation and what you learned?
Sure. Yeah, I had a wonderful conversation. In fact, I'm going to tell you about two conversations, Maria, if it's okay. So I actually met with Izzy's family, with her mom, her grandma, her parents, and her siblings, and we just had an incredibly very emotional, such an awful, terrible tragedy. And I did meet with the school district, and I was very impressed with the work that they're doing around this. I talked to, in fact, just today I talked to the principal as well. So I guess 3 conversations. But the work that they're doing to rally around their students and teachers, and making sure, one, that we're taking care of our students who may be struggling, and two, to make sure that we're doing everything possible to prevent any type of bullying for whatever reason, whether it's racially based or disability related, or just kids doing things that kids do. I've been very open about my own situation growing up and how difficult that was in middle school, with being bullied and having some of those suicidal thoughts at that time. And we can do better. And that's exactly. I was so impressed with the superintendent and their plans, the stuff that they were already working on, the things they're going to be doing moving forward. They've talked about some of those. More will be coming out. And but my message is that we need everyone, especially parents right now, to sit down with their kids and have a conversation, for a couple of reasons. One, to find out if they've been the victim of bullying, and to find out how they're doing from a mental health perspective, and then two, to make sure that sometimes it's our kids that are doing the bullying, and sometimes it's the bullied who becomes the bully. And these are really important conversations. We can't just say, it's kids being kids, because sometimes the consequences are too dire. Kids can be better. Parents can be better. I've said this before, but they often mimic the behavior that they see at home. And so when we have parents showing up at school board meetings and threatening people, and trying to bully their way, that's not the right model for our kids. And so we need to check our own behavior and then work with our kids. Look, Utah is an incredible place. There are so many people that care about others, that love others, and want to reach out and be helpful. And so I'm optimistic that we can do more. And I can't wait for the school district to share with everyone what they've shared with me.
Right. There is this underlying issue of racial discrimination. What can you share about what is being done to ensure that isn't happening?
Yeah, no question. So I will say in this particular case, the Izzy case, anytime there's a suicide in our state, there's a big investigation that happens, and it can take several weeks and a lot of time. And so it's really important, I think, that everyone just allow that process to take place. Suicides, especially amongst youth, I've been told by our expert who does these investigations, are incredibly complicated, and there's rarely one issue. There's almost always multiple interacting issues that happen here. However, what's important here is maybe not that specific case, but the Department of Justice investigation that had taken place before. And the district has already done several things to help remedy some of the issues that they found around some racial discrimination, including terminating employees who had participated in that type of discrimination or failed to react appropriately when those things came to them. It's really hard when the attorneys get involved because now the Department of Justice has to approve all of their communications. And so there's a process they have to go through, which is very frustrating for them because they are doing so much and they want to be able to share that with families. And so they will have an opportunity to do that. But it involves training. It involves investigation process, having independent investigators who can look at these types of things, making sure that they're dealing with them quickly because kids are going to do things, right? Kids make mistakes, kids do dumb things. So the question is, how do we respond when that happens? And how do we work to ensure that it doesn't happen again? And how do we help the adults there to know how to respond appropriately as well? And all of those things are taking place now.
All right. Our next caller is Audrey in Riverton. And Audrey, good afternoon. What is your question?
Good afternoon, Governor. A while back, you had mentioned you were going to take a look at the tax we pay on our Social Security. I'm curious to know, have you had a chance to do that, and what's your thoughts on that today?
Yeah, Audrey, thank you so much for reaching out and asking that question. I'm really excited to share that the last legislative session we were able to deal with that in a very significant way. And so we passed a bill and I signed that bill into law. It was House Bill 86, and what it does is it delivers a Social Security tax cut to Utah senior citizens. We were one of the only states, I think there may be 6 or 7, that still had the full tax on Social Security. So it raises the amount of income that is exempt from tax from $35,000 for joint filers to $50,000. So basically, this was an $18 million tax cut for those receiving those receiving Social Security tax. So I'm really grateful that the legislature agreed and that we were willing to push that tax cut through. Now this bill has a retrospective operation for a taxable year beginning on or after January 1st of 2021. So that's how it works. It goes back to the beginning of this year, and so you'll see that in your next tax filing for all of our seniors out there who are receiving the Social Security income. You're going to see a tax break this year. So great news! It's always fun when I get to talk about some good news and a tax cut.
Audrey, thanks for your call today. If you'd like to call and ask the governor a question, the number 801-575-8255. You can also text us at 57500. We'll be back following the bottom of the hour news.
Fulmeyer, KSL's top story this hour is breaking news on KSL News Radio. A radiology medical practice here in Utah is reporting the data of nearly 500,000 Utahns may have been stolen after the company was hacked back in early September. Utah Imaging Associates learned a hacker gained access to sensitive personal information of former and current patients. The company says it's mailing those affected by first-class mail. There have not been any reports of identity theft since the hack on September 4th. Thousands of Utah's children are not only facing hunger, they're facing homelessness. The director of Youth Homeless Services at Volunteers of America, Cindy LaCour, says her facility provides the basic needs for younger people.
We have like clothing and food items, and we serve 3 hot meals a day. Some of them do struggle with substance use, so we have clinicians that can meet with them and just try to have that support there for them.
LaCour tells Dave and Dujanovic anyone between 15 and 23 can come to their facility on 9th South and 4th West. More breaking news on KSL News Radio. The governor of Oklahoma has called off the execution of death row inmate Julius Jones. Protesters gathered outside the governor's home today. Jones' family's friends and supporters have argued for his innocence for the past 20 years. Jones was a 19-year-old student at the University of Oklahoma when he was convicted of the death of a man named Howell who was killed in a carjacking. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 74 to 35,858. The S&P up 7, the NASDAQ up 8. Slight warm tomorrow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 12:31.
Disagree better with Boyd Matheson.
A 7-year high for the price of gas. Rolling out these different policies. Was there anyone in the room say, okay, you can do policy A, B, or you can do C, but you can't do all three?
And expanded inside sources from 1 to 3. Tell Alexa, play KSL News Radio.
Hey guys, it's the Unrivaled team, Scott and Alex here. We've got a new partner on our show, and it's SRE.com. Now, what exactly is SRE.com? Imagine financing your new home purchase for 15 years fixed for as little as 1.55% APR. That's SRE.com. Imagine refinancing the home you and your family live in right now for 15 years fixed for as little as, you guessed it, 1.55% APR. That's SRE.com. Imagine receiving a 20% rebate on the commissions paid to lenders. That's SRE.com.
Imagine being able to pay your mortgage every month knowing you have this competitive rate. This, my friend, is SRE.com. Now quit imagining what you can do with all that extra money and get online right now to SRE.com and work with a real honest-to-goodness human being. There you'll find the help you need to get the mortgage you want for as little as just 1.55% APR. This isn't variable, it's a fixed rate. Can it be said any straighter than that? This is SRE.com.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Wasatch Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical breakthrough that has helped thousands of men. The WAVE technology at Wasatch Medical Clinic was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces instant results to intimacy. I don't think I've ever seen it fail. And for a limited time, blood work and testosterone is free as well. This is a $650 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 801-901-8000. That's 801-901-8000. Guys, put a stop to your ED and get your love life back. Call Wasatch Medical Clinic now to qualify. 801-901-8000.
Happy holidays from Lee's Heating and Air. If you're looking to replace your home's heating system, you need to consider the award-winning American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning line of products. There's no better time than now to get a free estimate or second opinion on your home's heating system. Just need a tune-up? We're still offering our furnace tune-ups for just $59. Call now before the offer ends. Call 801-467-1561 and schedule today. Visit us at leesheatac.com.
With Select Health Advantage, we have you covered. Select Health Advantage is a 5-star rated Medicare Advantage plan that offers all the benefits of Medicare, plus $0 or low premiums, $0 or low primary care copays, preventive dental and vision care, hearing aid coverage, and extensive prescription drug coverage. Call Select Health at 385-284-0058 for a free health plan quote. That's 385-284-0058.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Zions Bank, the official bank of the Utah Jazz. We've got Len Thomas in the traffic center. Len, it looks pretty smooth out there. KSL weather, the small roller coaster of temperatures starts tomorrow, 51, tomorrow 56 Friday, dips down for the weekend with a slight bump back up to 50 on Monday, and another drop starts Tuesday. Right now, 43, a little warmer, mostly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. This is Utah's all-day companion for news.
Get your questions answered by the governor. Call 801-575-8255 to join Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Chaleos, along with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. And the number for you to call, again, 801-575-8255. We're getting a number of texters. You can text us your questions at 57500. Governor, before we get right back to those calls and questions, my question for you is, we know that Utah's going to get some money that's being touted in the infrastructure bill just signed by the president. What are we going to see, and when should we expect to see it in action?
Sure. Yeah. So that big infrastructure bill was finally passed, bipartisan infrastructure bill, and some good things for the state of Utah. We're not sure exactly when that money will come our way, but we'll be working with the legislature. I assume that most of that will be apportioned out during the legislative session that comes up as we get more details on exactly how much is coming to us and where and how that money can be used. So the legislature meets starting in January and running through March. But we'll see some significant investments in some places where it's really needed. So of course, roads and bridges is part of that. Infrastructure around broadband, especially in our rural areas and some of our communities that may be underserved, and then we'll also be looking at investment. The piece I'm most excited about is our ability to invest in water and wastewater projects. We have we found out during some of the stimulus money that came in, the ARPA funding, we went through a process where the legislature set aside some money, and you remember that local governments also received money from the federal government there, and we thought, it would be a good idea if we could put that money together to do some big things, some generational things. If look, I think the federal government's spending way too much money, but if they're going to spend it, we should be investing it in things that will have a return on investment for our kids and grandkids. If we're spending their money, we should be spending it in ways that will help them, and so that's why I think infrastructure is so important. And as we went through that process, we had $50 million that we could match with money coming from these municipalities, and we had requests for about $1 billion in projects. And these are important projects, quality of life projects, as infrastructure is aging, making sure that we have sewer lines that work and water lines for drinking water and water storage, all of those things that we care so desperately about. We're going to be asking the legislature for more money for that, and we believe that we could also use this money coming from the infrastructure bill to meet some of those needs. So we already have the list. We're in the process right now of ranking that list, projects that are most important. We have projects from every corner of the state, and this will be a good thing in the long run for everyone in our state.
Our next question comes from a texter who is a public safety employee who wants to know if you would support legislation in the upcoming session that would reduce the separation time for public safety retirees. The reason they're asking is they say if they were to retire right now, they would not even be able to mow the lawn at their local high school because they would lose some of their retirement benefits.
Yeah, Maria. So this has been a problem for a while. Now on the good side of this, the legislature back now. I was not here for this. I was a county commissioner at the time, or I guess a mayor and then a county commissioner when in 2008 when we had the Great Recession, the collapse, and so many states. Retirement programs were facing bankruptcy, and Utah very proactively stepped out and said we're going to reform our public pensions and retirement programs to make sure that they're sustainable. And I certainly applaud the work they did at that time. Now there's a question if that legislation and some subsequent legislation may have gone a little too far. And what this texter said is absolutely a problem that we've seen, and that is that you can't even take for example a part-time job without benefits, doing something else after you've retired if there's any nexus to state government. And what they're trying to avoid is this idea that people would retire in their job and then the next day take back their exact same job and get their retirement and keep getting paid. So they didn't really retire. Mm-hmm. And people, I think rightfully so, felt that was kind of playing the system a little bit. But that's very different than what's being proposed here. And so I am interested in that legislation. Obviously, we will have to work through the details. I've been interested in it for quite a while. Again, especially around public safety, it's so hard right now. We have a shortage of people in the workforce, a labor shortage, a significant labor shortage. And let me tell you one area where it would be really helpful, and that's in rural areas. So imagine, and this happened all the time when I was a county commissioner, that someone would retire from Salt Lake, Utah County, and they moved to a rural area, and they were willing to do some part-time law enforcement to help out. Well, you have somebody with a tremendous amount of experience coming to a place that desperately needs the help. What ends up happening is, in these rural places, we hire people in public safety, then we train them, we send them to post, we get them all ready to go, and then Salt Lake City offers them more money, and we lose them. And so there's this revolving door. Now, if you could get somebody with a lot of experience who is coming in willing to work for less because they have the retirement, it's really a win-win. But it's not just there, it's everything. As this person mentioned, they can't get a job, a part-time job, even doing something anywhere else related to state government, and that's problematic. I think that the pendulum probably swung a little too far, and we could look at ways to shift that back and help our people and get these jobs filled that so desperately need to be filled.
All right. Our next caller is Rick in Oakley. And good afternoon, Rick. What is your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, Governor Cox, you talk a lot about civility and decency, and, I agree with the words that you often speak. But when you supported probably the most indecent and uncivil candidate for president in the form of Donald Trump, and your recent action in signing what I would characterize as an indecent and uncivil redistricting plan, in that it disenfranchises, some 35% of Utahns. Why should I continue to listen to you when you give speeches on civility and decency? Your words seem to be undermined by your actions completely.
Well, thank you, Rick, for the call. Of course, you don't have to listen to me. That's fine. That's certainly your prerogative. I'm happy to address redistricting. I've talked about it a lot. I did about 15 minutes of a Facebook Live talking about exactly what happened around that. And I appreciate your passion. I know there are a lot of people that are upset about redistricting and the way that went down. I've been very clear on this. In fact, 2 years ago, I gave a speech on redistricting before any of this happened, before the ballot initiative that Utahns passed very narrowly by I think about 7,000 votes. And I said this, and I've been clear, I've been very consistent on this. I said, look, if you read the Constitution of the state of Utah, the Constitution of the state of Utah very clearly says that the legislature decides the districts. The legislature, every 10 years, the language is perfectly clear. The legislature decides the districts. They get to, it's their prerogative. Now, we can change the Constitution. If people don't like the Constitution, it can be changed. It's a big process, and you have to have legislative support to change that. What ended up happening was this ballot initiative that a lot of people unfortunately believed meant that this independent redistricting commission would draw the lines, and that's not what it meant at all. The only thing it can do is recommend to the legislature. It doesn't say the governor draws the line. Doesn't say redistricting commission draws the lines. It says the legislature draws the lines. And 2 years ago, I said the legislature will draw the lines again, and I will support the legislature in drawing those lines unless they do something illegal, which they did not. Then they get to do that. And not only did they draw the lines, but they drew the lines with a veto-proof majority. And I've heard people say, well, they only had 50 votes in the House, and that is veto-proof, but you only needed one to change. That's not how the legislature works. They had 60 votes in the House, but they only needed 50, and so they got their 50 and then let other people vote differently. So I've been very consistent on that. You see that as divisive because you wanted a different outcome. Being divisive doesn't mean you get your way every time. That's not. I mean that's not how it works. Not being divisive doesn't mean that. Collaboration means listening to people, bringing people together, doing the very best. I would have drawn different maps. There's no question that my maps would have looked different. But the Constitution doesn't tell the governor that he gets to draw the maps. And so they did something. It wasn't illegal. I said from the beginning that I would support the maps that they drew. Those are the maps that they drew, and I did that. Now I feel bad that you feel that that's divisive. I don't think it is. I think think that it's important that we listen, that we try to do better. Sometimes I'll support some things that you like, and then you'll think I'm the best governor ever. But I think that that listening and learning from each other and not throwing bombs and not attacking people, I think that's what that's the way that we should be in our politics. And I've certainly tried to do that. I will always try to do that. I tried to do that during redistricting, and I will try to do that on every issue going forward. And if you ever see me attacking the other side, or if you ever see me trying to divide our state, then please come and let me know, and I promise you I'll try to do better. Thank you, Rick.
Rick, thanks for your call today. We need to take a break. The number to call with your questions, 801-575-8255. You can text us your questions at 57500. We'll be right back.
It's a great time.
Hand off Algier
to be a Cougar.
Tyler shoots a gap and gets in for 6.
This week, BYU returns to protect its top 20 rank. Listen for extended BYU pregame Saturday starting at 10. And then kickoff at 2 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
For the ones who get going when the going gets tough. And the ones who know we're tougher together. For the Pathfinders breaking new ground. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as fast access to experts and 24/7 customer support. Because we know you have people depending on you, so you can always depend on us. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now at Siegel Book, Season 2 of the acclaimed series, The Chosen. Own the global phenomenon that is changing tens of millions of people one episode at a time. The word is spreading that Jesus is the Messiah. Increased fame brings growing crowds, new disciples, and more miracles. But it also brings trouble. The Chosen, Season 2. Save $5 on the 8-episode 2-disc DVD set, only $24.99. Live inspired for less at Siegel. Rescue, redemption, recovery, re-entry. That's what happens at the rescue mission of Salt Lake City.
My name's India.
My name is Kelly.
So I was a heroin addict.
I was living in my car.
And I decided it was time that I got help.
You don't know what to expect.
The rescue mission of Salt Lake does not accept any federal, state, or city funding. Everything is wholly supported through your generous tax-deductible contributions, along with donations of our friends and supporters.
You have a bed. You have a shower. We get everything that we need.
87% of every dollar goes to the rescue mission services. The other 13%, hard costs to run the mission building itself.
Like I have that hope now.
Thank goodness.
From the recovery program to a place to lay your head at night. And meals served every morning, afternoon, and evening all year long, as well as food boxes for families in need. The rescue mission needs our help.
Like a new life, that newfound hope.
That's what I'm grateful for.
Find out how at rescuesaltlake.org.
Whether you run your local bookstore or the neighborhood boutique that everyone loves, small businesses like yours make gift giving possible. Now, Comcast Business has a gift for you. Introducing the sale you don't want to miss, the Gift of Savings Sale. For a limited time, ask how to get a great deal for your business. You can get a $500 prepaid card when you switch to Comcast Business with the network that can deliver gig speeds to the most businesses. That's $500 to spend on whatever your business needs. Or if you want another way to save, you can also get started with internet and voice for $64.99 per month with a 2-year price guarantee. So give your business the gift of savings today. Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Limited time offer, restrictions apply. New Comcast Business 35 megabits per second internet and one voice mobility customers only. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. Prepaid card offer ends 1/2/22. Call or go online for details.
Get the latest breaking news on your phone. Just text the word news to 57500. That's the UCCU KSL text line. Love where you bank.
When buying a home or doing a refinance on your mortgage, working with a knowledgeable expert that can deliver a low interest rate, low closing costs, and amazing service is the goal.
Oh, who does that? Who can be that consistent time after time?
I'll tell you who. Loans by Rick. Loans by Rick delivers every single time and is still closing loans in 12 to 22 days from submission to clear to close over 90% of the time. Clients often mention that after shopping at credit unions and banks, they found Loans by Rick interest rates a little bit lower too. Loans by Rick only does mortgages, not car loans, not student loans, just mortgages. for purchasing and refinancing loans. Where else you gonna go? Loans by Rick. Let Rick keep you out of the mortgage jungle and close your loan fast. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com and let the expert Rick take care of your mortgage. Client testimonials available at loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179 and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Get your questions answered by the governor. Call 801-575-8255 to join Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Thank you for joining us this noon hour for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Chaleos, along with Utah Governor Spencer Cox, and we are taking your calls, 801-575-8255. You can text us at 57500. We'll get to as many of your calls and questions as we can. Governor, our next person here is Jerry in West Valley. And Jerry, what is your question?
Governor Cox, I really appreciate you taking these calls. With the recent uptick in hits in crosswalks, especially the fatal one up in Layton. My wife almost got hit in a crosswalk. I was wondering if there's any way we could start to encourage legislature to get more visible crossing lights, anything to really let people see someone in a crosswalk.
Thank you, Jerry, and I'm sorry to hear about your wife, and obviously these are serious tragedies. So a couple things that I think are important. So most of those decisions, most of our streets with crosswalks are city streets, and of course that's a conversation to have with your local city officials. Local government is easiest to contact to talk through those. Now on state streets though, and for the average person, people don't know if it's a city street or it's owned by the state. UDOT works through those, but they also work closely with local officials. So I can give you a quick example. When I was the mayor of Fairview, we needed a crosswalk and we wanted lighting as well for that. So as the mayor of my town, we reached out to our representative from our UDOT area, talked through that, showed them the data, showed them why it was important, and we got that done. So they do have a budget for that every year. They look at they do studies every year as well. And if there's an accident, they will study that crosswalk and see what we can do to increase it there. So if you have specific crosswalks in mind, what I would encourage you to do is to reach out to your local government, your public works city council member, and let them know that, hey, this is a dangerous intersection. This is what we have. We believe that we need something more there. There's a process that they can go through to get that done. We are adding every year. We're adding new crosswalks. We're adding additional lighting, trying to make them more safer. As the fastest growing state, an intersection that may have been safe 10 years ago, the last time we looked at it, may not be now. And so we really do rely on the eyes and ears of people around us to help us out. And it's not just that. We also it's the responsibility, of course, of drivers as well. And we need people to pay attention at intersections. Get off your phones. Stop texting, start looking. Sometimes, even having a well-lit crosswalk doesn't matter if people aren't paying attention. And so we really need to be careful out there. And as pedestrians, we need to be vigilant as well, right? Even though we have the right-of-way doesn't matter if we get hit. And far too often I see pedestrians who are on their phones as well and not paying attention to what's happening around them. So if we could all be just a little less distracted, that would be helpful. But if you have a specific place where you want a crosswalk, please reach out and let us know, and we can do a study and see if we can put one there.
All right, Jerry, thanks for your call. Next question. I'm just going to read you this text, Governor. This person says they are disappointed with the permitless carry law that was passed in May. They say we are seeing an uptick in gun violence. And what do you see as a solution to the concern?
Yeah, thank you, Marie. So we are seeing an uptick in gun violence across the nation, though. So the uptick is happening in states that don't have permitless carry as well as states that do, and certainly it's concerning. I don't say that to denigrate it at all. I just say that they're important issues in and of themselves. It's really important to note as we actually look at gun violence and when guns are used to take a life. There are two categories that stand out far and away above everything else. The first category, unfortunately, is suicide, and we're spending more on suicide prevention right now than at any time in our state's history. We have some amazing programs that are reaching out, providing gun locks and safes to people and gun owners and parents, making sure that we are locking up our guns and keeping our loved ones safe. So suicide prevention will do more to end gun violence than deaths by gun than anything else in our state right now. So that's a critical one. The second one is the type of our domestic disputes and domestic related homicides. That's by far the next largest category. So many people, unfortunately, that die a violent death by gun or otherwise, are people who knew each other, people who were married before, boyfriend, girlfriend, family members that are estranged. And I do believe that that's one area where we could do better. I think we really need to continue to evaluate our laws around allowing those the people who have promulgated violence or threatened violence, whether or not they should be able to possess a firearm if they have a history of domestic abuse. That's unfortunately where we see far too much of this, and it's one area that as a nation I think we could do much better.
Governor, we only have 2 minutes left in the program. I'm going to try to squeeze in this last caller. Sam is in Layton. Sam, what is your question? Sam, are you there? And apparently Sam's not there. Our next question from our texter is, how come we don't have a mandatory left-hand turn light to cut down on accidents?
Well, that's a good question. We
Would
probably
that solve
have
the
some.
problem?
I don't know. I guess I'm not an expert enough to know. I'm sure that our experts have been looking at that. We have some traffic related questions today. I'll make sure and put that one to our experts. We may have some in some areas. I'm not sure, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But we'll do better next time.
Final question. We just have 30 seconds here, Governor. I'm just wondering, our texter wants to know if what can be done to clean up our air. And I'm wondering if there's anything coming up in the legislature.
Yeah, we'll certainly see some more in the legislature. We have a bipartisan coalition that is working on some clean air initiatives. Good news, our air is cleaner now than at any time in my lifetime. Bad news is we still have a long ways to go. So we're working with that. I will say just briefly, our very last refinery has started the process the last one left to make Tier 3 gasoline, which is much cleaner burning gasoline. Tier 3 gasoline is doing more to clean up our air than anything else that we've done in a long time. So we've got the last refinery on board. They just let us know this week, and that's going to make a huge difference. Pretty soon, all of our gas stations will only be selling Tier 3 gasoline in the state.
Governor, thank you for your time. Thank you for answering the questions of our listeners. We appreciate it, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks. You too, Maria. Take care.
You too. Until next time.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.